Time for Building Momentum, brought to you by Momentum Advocacy. If your organization, business, or corporation needs to understand the complex nature of our capital, you need to get a hold of Momentum Advocacy. Let's talk about what's going on in Minnesota today.
Love having them on when I get him. He's Brian McDaniel with Momentum Advocacy. Brian, before we get into all the big muckety-muck stuff in the state, we get Senator Koch on here quite a little bit. I think people know her, what her history is. What is yours? How do you get into this? Give us the background of Brian.
Yeah, sure thing. So, Amy Koch and I are business partners, and we've been friends for 20 years or so. But my background is I was an attorney in private practice, and but always very political. So, I interned for a congressman and interned up at the Minnesota House of Representatives. I went into private practice, but then always knew that politics is what I wanted to do. So then I was staff on the Commerce Committee of the in the Minnesota House of Representatives, and then I made my way up to legislative director to House Speaker Steve Swigum, and worked for Governor Tim Pawlenty in the Department of Employment and Economic Development. I have lobbied full time since 2007. I teach American government at Concordia University in St. Paul, and tonight I will be performing stand-up comedy at the Rusty Bumblebee in Blaine, Minnesota at 8:30. If you're in the Blaine area,
seriously,
free show.
All right, is it political comedy? How would you brand yourself? I don't see you as like props. You're not props guy.
Yeah, it's wacky. No, I'm not going to say there's no politics in it, but these days people want far less politics in their comedy. So there's a little, but not too much.
But all that being said, I mean, and then you have Senator Koch, who's been there, done that as far as the Capitol. You guys got this thing covered. You understand what's going on here and there. So, because what I presume, again, it probably makes me an idiot here, but I presume this is the time organizations, groups of people are looking what's going to happen come February when everybody gets back to work, right? When we get the session back in. So, and I always say, when somebody wants to get something done and you don't know how, call Momentum Advocacy. But it's on the other side of that as well. If you hear X bill is going to happen and you don't want it to happen, what do you do? And is that another reason to call Momentum?
100%. There's for those of you watching us on YouTube, there's a book behind me on my shelf. It's called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty by Harvey Mackay. And that is what you need to do. If you wait until February when the legislature comes back into session, you've already lost. You've waited too long. Now is the time where you need to make the connections, do the homework, draft the language, meet with legislators on the right committees to make sure that when they come back in February, that your issue is something that is on their agenda or something that you want to stop, that you are doing the proper education to do that.
Okay. And people think, at least I think people think, you have to be some huge group. You got to be the teachers union, or you got to be the Minnesota gun guy. You got to be this huge group. But Senator Koch was on a couple of weeks back, and she made some comment about like the Museum People Association for Outer Minnesota. And I'm like, that's a group first. Okay. And good. I mean, they all have issues, but they're like, you don't have to say that, but they're like a client of yours doing some work for them. This does not have to be a big, huge muckety-muck thing. This could be the Library Union of Southern, whatever it is. This does not have to be big groups, right?
Well, and what I would say is one of the greatest misconceptions about lobbying is that lobbying is only for big oil and big tobacco. I can tell you, any issue that you can think of has a lobbyist. Any disease you can think of has a lobbyist. Any occupation you can think of has a lobbyist. And if you want to challenge me on that and say, okay, well, who lobbies for the homeless? Guess what? Momentum Advocacy does. Minnesota Coalition for the Homeless, many other different ones. So people, whoever needs an advocate, there are ways to organize and fundraise and get donations in order to. There are not groups that are walking around unrepresented. It just doesn't happen.
And that's fair, and as people should know that. If you want to get in the game, get in the game. Can I ask, is it by issue, how complicated an issue is, how much, I hire Momentum Advocacy. Please stop oil from being used in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't make it up. That would be a huge deal, and you would have to be full-time all the time working on Al's deal if we're going to pull that off. I get that. But if it's just, can I get the stop sign at the thing taken off the thing, is that, how does the rating work? How do I know how much money I need to have to play?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, quite obviously, we would all, I know I would do this for free. I love this. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd be back on Monday in this chair doing this. But, we have employees, we have lights, we have gas bills, all of that stuff. But what I can tell you is that one of my, the necessities of my job is to be very upfront about what are your odds of success. It does me no good to overpromise and underdeliver. Like if you were to come to me saying, I need a stop sign, on the end of my block, how do I get the state legislature to do that? I would say you don't. But let me tell you how you lobby your local city or council, whatever it might be. And if you want to come and say, you know what, we want to mandate that on Wednesdays everyone in Minnesota has to wear pink. Well, you know what? You can, if you got the money, we can do whatever you want. But what I'm going to tell you is that has a very low chance of success. But sometimes it's not about succeeding; it's about educating legislature. Yeah. Or sometimes it takes more than one session to do something. But we don't just take people's money and say, okay, we're going to do whatever you want. We're going to let you know what are your odds of success, and that is before. You give us $1.
Well, that's my point. I think I want to take the scariness out of getting an advocate for me at the Capitol. I can call Brian. I can call Momentum Advocacy. Go there, and I suppose emails anymore. You message you and say, "Here's what I'm looking to do," and you guys give me a call and you say, "Hey Al, stop signs aren't our gig. Do this," and then thanks for contacting me. Or on the other end, hey, why don't you sit down? I think there's something we can talk about. I mean, that first consultation is on the house.
Yeah, it's really not. It doesn't have to be that complicated. This is a collegial thing. I don't want to take anyone's money if I don't think I can be successful. But I also want to help demystify and explain the process, because my job. My main job is being a translator. It's my job to translate what are the legislators saying, doing, meaning when they do or say or do something to our client, but also to take the world from the client's view and then put it in the vernacular that means something to the elected officials. That's really what my job is.
And in reality, I presume timelines. I'm going to waste this whole first time talking about this because it's exciting to me. The timeline, I think most folks don't understand. I got something I want done. I get Momentum Advocacy behind me, and then they're going to get it put up at the Capitol in first week in February or whatever. And this is going to be a bill in no time. Am I not mistaken that the average bill takes like 2 or 3 or 4 sessions to go from no one knows about it to being a thing? This isn't an easy process.
It's not an easy process. I would say that there is no typical bill. And that there are many issues that we are able to get done in one session. But there are some that are complicated enough or evergreen. Like if your issue is transportation funding, well, you don't just do that once. You have to do it every budget cycle. So it's not a one size fits all proposition at all.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm going to go to break just a scotch early because on the other side, I don't want time to talk about this. I'd like to talk about some of the, I don't want to say voter fraud, but just voter issues that seem to be in the papers here the last week. 3, 4 different ones, all little ones, but when you put them together, I'm thinking maybe we need to look at something. We'll talk about that with Brian McDaniel right after this. Momentum Advocacy. Take a look at him.
When the stakes are high at the Minnesota Capitol, you need more than a lobbyist. You need a partner. At Momentum Advocacy, we bring nearly 90 years of combined experience in government relations, public affairs, and strategic communications. From nonprofits to national corporations, we help organizations navigate Minnesota's political landscape with integrity, insight, and results. Whether you need legislative champions or headlines, Momentum Advocacy delivers. For more, visit momentum-advocacy.com. Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol.
Do you have a closet full of old videos, photos, slides, or films? Regain that space and preserve those memories for future generations. Visit archivinglifemedia.com. or call 952-829-8018. See how safe and simple it is to digitize all your media. Gain peace of mind knowing that all those important memories will be saved and can be seen and shared again. Do it today. Check out archivinglifemedia.com or give them a call, 952-829-8018.
Are you kidding me?
You know that comment you said to the radio? The thing that we got wrong?
Clearly, Brussels sprouts are the worst vegetable.
Call us and let the world know your thoughts. 855-257-7469. That's 855-ALS Show.
We've got him, Brian McDaniel, on the program with Momentum Advocacy. Appreciate you being here, sir. I'm kind of really happy here with your background. You probably know more about this than anybody I've had on the elected officials I've talked to. I don't spend much of my time worrying a whole lot about voting. In my little town, you go in, the same folks have been doing the polling place. I walk, Al, how you doing? You know, it seems safe and right to me. Then we have Secretary of State Simon not wanting to give the federal government our voter rolls. I personally don't understand it, but fine. It could be a Democrat, Republican. I never really cared. This week comes out, Secretary Simon would like a nationwide thing. I got the name of it here, something Voter Purge Protection Act. You read that, I'm like, oh, I thought we already did that. He's asking for you have to prove you're dead or that you moved out of state to get you off the voter rolls. Well, these are the last things we think about when we die or when we move out of town. But so I'm just now thinking, wait a minute. Then two guys get found guilty in federal court in Minnesota of filling out 500 to 600 fraudulent voter registration cards. Why? I go, who's going to do that? That can't be fun. Because some company, and they didn't do it in the committee, name what it was, but 99% of their budget comes from state grants. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, we pay to have some other company hire somebody to go register people. If you want to register, pay it yourself. I don't know exactly sure, So then I'm getting into it, and then this gal from up north, mom died, big Trump supporter, really knew she wanted to vote Trump, so she sent her ballot in. She voted with mom being dead. Sir, I'm now 1 week later thinking, I don't think this is so clean anymore. It can't be easy as I just mailed in the ballot. You know what I'm saying? How safe are Minnesota's voting from beginning to end compared to any other state that you know of?
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things where almost always it is done legally and appropriately, but not always. And as long as you have, as long as you have humans involved in the process at any level, you have the opportunity for things to go a little sideways. And politics has really crept in to the administration of voting in a way that we're not surprised by it, but it doesn't need to. I mean, I grew up in the state of Illinois. State of Illinois, you have to prove who you are. You have to register as a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. You have to have a photo ID. You have to do all of those things. In the state of Minnesota, in 2012, I think I want to say, the same year that we had marriage equality on the ballot, we had a photo ID requirement that would have been added to our Constitution. It was polling at 65, 70, 75% of people thought it was a good idea to be able to have to hand over your driver's license or state ID to prove who you are. For a lot of people, that makes sense. However, some people say that's racist and that it's unfair to people who don't have driver's licenses, or it is something that if you are not in the country legally, which you can't vote anyway. If you vote, for anyone listening who's not here legally, do not vote. You cannot get citizenship later on if you are caught. It is not worth it. Trust me. But these are things where and with the addition to it of mail-in ballots, for some people in rural areas, it absolutely makes sense to have mail-in ballots in Alaska and parts of Minnesota even. But you leave the door open for, just like you said, where somebody else fills out a ballot, puts a signature on there, sends it in, and it's very difficult. That we do have processes in place. I can tell you a story of a friend of mine who was working on a recount and then had somebody on the other side tell them, hey, I think they just invalidated your mail-in ballot because the signatures didn't match. So I don't know that was appropriate for them to say, but I can tell you it happens.
But what's weird about that is the signature thing, right? The matching the signatures. First, you got to find out, you think somebody went south, right? You did it illegal. Then you got to find that ballot, that registration. And then most of these people that work on this, they're not handwriting experts. They're just Joe the clerk guys. And that's, and then how many millions you had to look at, Minnesota, what we vote, 67% of us or something. There's only 3 million of them. Can you look through these quick, Bob? That is I believe with today's day and age, thank God I got to use that phrase, there should be some way with AI or something that can maybe compare signatures and have some benchmarks to pull them. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's expensive. After this week, I'm sitting there thinking, why would guys fill out 500 to 600 extra? Why do you make money by the number you turn in? I don't know how any of this works, but now they're sitting in there, right? They're in the rolls.
I can give you a very good example. I live in Dakota County, and I don't remember the exact year, but there was a very controversial gentleman's club in Coates, Minnesota. They had all the trouble with the city and zoning and this and signage and this and that. So what they did is, for the patrons who enjoyed the gentleman's club, they would have them sign up, register to vote using the strip club as their address. So there was a local initiative. All of a sudden, all these votes came in. And then when they actually went back, it wasn't very difficult in that in a small town to figure out that, hey, 37 people live at a strip club. That's probably not good. So they catch it more than they don't, but you just catch it. And I have heard stories. I will not out the person, but in the old days of calling reservations up north and then just saying, we need X amount of votes, and then that happening. So the good old days weren't that good, and how things work today aren't as bad as we think, but none of it's perfect.
Well, yeah, and I guess I don't understand. Maybe we don't have time. Provisional balloting. I guess I thought if there was an issue, I don't think this gal is really your mom. You put that over here, and we'll we'll check it out. You can't do it the day of the voting. I get that. So we'll put it over here. And then when we look into if it's good, slide her in the bucket. But to put it in the bucket first and not be able to get it back seems like an easy fix. And I don't know why we don't do it. The provisional ballot.
Well, I mean, we don't do it because one side or the other thinks that it isn't advantageous to them, and they don't trust the process or the people running the process. That if something was provisional, does that mean that this Antifa person, this Democratic Socialist, or this MAGA supporter is going to find a way to invalidate my vote?
Yeah, got it. And once it's in the hopper, though, you can't. Okay, fair enough. I've got to fly. I'm almost out of time, but Minnesota Vikings, do they play JJ or do they go with Wentz?
I think it's going to be Wentz again. JJ, I'm a big fan of his, Michigan guy, Chicago Bears fan growing up, but I think the game's going a little fast for him right now, and that Wentz is a better person to be quarterbacking the team.
And I presume you're looking the Vikings to win with the upset?
Philly. I'm wearing green, but that doesn't mean I love the Eagles. So, but the Philly's got some offensive problems right now.
Yeah, Mr. McDaniel, I appreciate coming on. I appreciate Momentum Advocacy coming on and building momentum with you guys. I appreciate it a ton. You answered a lot of great questions. We'll be back with more right after this.
And that's another Building Momentum with Momentum Advocacy. Your friends at the Capitol. Join us every other week to discuss all things Minnesota with